think JB's gonna love me for this video, though I'm sure he's gonna end up doing his own, and it'll be much prettier with like photos and graphs and election polls and stuff. But anyway, so the Liberal minority government has been officially called. All of the reigning polls were called, and if you look at quite a few, more so than even Ontario, in their final counts, but if you look at a lot of the ridings, you'll notice something very clear across the board. There were a lot of ridings that came down to like 1,000 or less votes. And when you see situations where a Liberal or an NDP might have gotten a riding, if they had only gotten an extra 500 votes or an extra 600 or 1,000 or whatever, and would have overtaken the Conservative candidate, it makes you realize how important strategic voting is. Because as I looked at each and every one of these polls, I would see, oh, this person lost by 200 votes. And oh, look, the NDP candidate got 500. So if 200 people or 300 people had have, instead of voting NDP, voted strategically for the Liberal, they would have pushed the Conservative candidate out. So I do feel like Canadians did a better job this time. Listen, I looked at the numbers. We have had an enormous amount of people that have come out and voted. I mean, just in my area alone, I think it was like 72% of eligible voters came out and voted. That's huge. I mean, fucking Ontario only had like 43% of, 45% of eligible voters that came out and voted. That is total across the province, by the way. So, don't get me wrong, I am proud of Canada. You guys met the moment. You came out and you made your voices heard. But what kind of sucks is, had you guys understood the assignment when it came to strategic voting, a lot more people would have won. And by the way, NDP, that includes you. There were a few ridings that you guys could have picked up had people strategically voted. So, I would hope this kind of makes people realize how important these kinds of things are. Now, one, again, like strategic voting would have really made a huge difference in making it a majority for the Liberals and gotten the NDP way more seats, maybe in the Bloc, who knows. The other thing, though, that also really, shows up when it comes to this kind of thing is we really need election reform. If we had ranked ballots, strategic voting would not even be needed. You could vote for whoever the fuck you wanted, and it would still mean that you could rank your ballot and go, okay, well, I'm going to vote NDP, but if they can't win, then I want my vote to go to the Liberal person. Like, I don't know if Mark Carney would be the type of government. I mean, Justin Trudeau tried to bring it in electoral reform. He was shot down by everybody. Like, people just did not want that to happen, especially the Conservatives, because ranked ballots do not help them in the least bit. They tend to win when there's vote splitting going on. As you could see by this election, right? The more people that tend to split the vote between the other leftist parties, because there really is only two conservative-based parties, and nobody really votes that much for the People's Party of Canada. Ranked ballots just don't work for the Conservatives, so they will never, ever support electoral reform. But right now would be a really good time for the Liberals to try and push that. The problem is that even the Liberals can't. It's like Justin just couldn't even get the support of the other Liberals on it. So I kind of hope they revisit it. I know Elizabeth May was really pushing it at the beginning, so maybe she can broach it again. I mean, her little vote is going to be pretty important now, so maybe they'll listen to her just a little bit harder this time. Because she said she is willing to work with the Liberals, but I'm sure there's going to be a few things that she might put out there that say, hey, and I think she'll broach the topic of electoral reform again. At least I hope so. I don't know if it's going to be for ranked ballot, because there are other versions of it, but that just goes to show, like, strategic voting is highly important and would have made a huge difference in the difference between a Liberal minority government and the majority government that we didn't end up getting. So, but as I said, JB Politics will probably do a much better video than I, and like have graphs and everything else now that all the polls have been called, and he can pop up and show exact. The only one that I can think of or a couple of examples that I can think of right now is Kitchener South and Cambridge. There was 1,000 vote difference, and the NDP I think had about 12 or 1,300 votes. That if had they gone to the Liberal, they would have won that riding. The new riding in Halton South and Milton East. There was like a 300 vote difference between the Conservative and the Liberal. Had even just a few of the votes from the NDP and the Green parties gone over to the Liberal, the candidate would have won. So, like I said, JB will have actual graphs and everything else. So, but right there just goes to show strategic voting is generally the way to go, people.